Baldur's Gate 3 is a dating simulator designed to prey on those of us who share the delusion that I could fix them. Alongside that, it also has some minor RPG elements like exploration, combat, and ethical dilemmas. In this video, I'll be liberally interpreting the meaning of both poo and scraping in what is probably the dumbest challenge that anyone has attempted in Honor Mode so far. For those who aren't familiar, Honor Mode is a difficulty level so hard that it was added 5 months after the full release of Baldur's Gate 3 for the health and safety of players. Thankfully, Poo Scraper is the best weapon in the entire game. It may deal the lowest possible damage and have absolutely no unique mechanics or bonuses, but unlike myself and all of you, it at least has a clear purpose in life. This is God, or at least that's what he wants you to think. Gordon here has perpetuated the largest religious hoax in history by convincing every mentally unstable person on the continent that shoving worms into their brain will give them superpowers. Even more importantly though, he made Karlach sad, and therefore he needs to die. That's where Poo Scraper enters the picture. And by the picture, I mean Gordon's frontal lobe. Before we get started, let's go over the rules. Rule 1. No dealing damage from any source other than Poo Scraper. That isn't to say that I can't add additional damage to attacks with Poo Scraper, but no punching, damage spells, or even smiting. Rule 2. No pushing, throwing, or otherwise moving enemies. Pushing attacks and mobile flourishes with Poo Scraper are the sole exceptions. Rule 3. No applying any debuffs to enemies with anything other than Poo Scraper. Putting someone to sleep by stabbing them with an ambient shit-covered Poo Scraper? Fine. Casting sleep? Not fine. Rule 4. Do not, under any circumstances, leave Poo Scraper near the cooking knives. Some rules are written in blood, and others in bloody diarrhea. Now it's time to spend 7 hours creating our character. Here is our glorious protagonist, the Brown Urge. I went with a half wood elf, partially for the extra 5 feet of movement range, but mostly because they're extremely hot. With the assistance of 2 women who definitely don't have any unresolved trauma to work through, we managed to get out of hell, where we belong, only to be completely stranded in the middle of nowhere surrounded by eldritch horrors. Great start. Now, obviously, I can't attack anything yet because I don't have Poo Scraper, so instead I recruited every lonely single in my area and threw all of their weapons into the ocean. We have Shadowheart to hopefully keep us alive, Astarion for moral support, this weird frog that started following us for some reason, and Gale. Hello. To eat all of our valuable magical items, which coincidentally includes our sweaty, pungent boots.
There's a mighty bargain to be made.
Finally, we set out on our grand adventure. Shit. We got through this fight by burning through all of our healing potions, coating the ground in military-grade anal lubricant, and distracting their archers by letting them shoot us in the face. After recruiting Will, my father, Ravengard, and stocking up on Percocet at the local dealer, we set out to find the Brown Blade of Excrement Extraction. Carefully avoiding any more unwanted advances from the local predators, we made our way to this abandoned town. This alchemist shop has a cellar filled with several very normal things, but only one of them matters. One of the most annoying things about the disgusting flesh mechs that my kind inhabit is their need for fuel. But not just any fuel. It couldn't be simple and easy like pumping gas or swapping out a rod of plutonium-239. They need it to taste good and maintain a healthy and balanced diet. You've got to buy the food, cook the food, eat the food, and if you get creative and try chicken sashimi one time, you end up like this guy. The solution? Factor. It's not just that thing that you probably should have learned in math class while you were too busy scraping free gum off the bottom of your desk. Today's sponsor, Factor, offers delicious ready-to-eat meals shipped right to your door. You take the box out of the box, put it in the magic box, take it out of the magic box, and put it in your mouth. Unless you subsist solely off of uncooked ramen or pay someone to spoon feed you, it doesn't get easier than that. On a serious note, I've got this shit, so I'm not great at the whole standing up for long enough to cook a good balanced meal thing. Factor's meals allow me to eat like an adult human being, rather than a large child who definitely should not be allowed to do his own grocery shopping. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code BRILLIANT50 at checkout to get 50% off your first Factor box. Big thanks to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Now let the scraping commence. We are now armed and capable of Not very much, to be honest. To have any chance of survival, I need to hit level 3 with as little fighting as possible. That's why I've made the Brown Urge extremely persuasive. I persuaded these Reddit moderators to fight for us, scared the shit out of this innocent little goblin, broke the spirit of this tiefling, and convinced this woman to not murder a child. The Brown Urge is an assassin rogue for sneak attack and an extra action at the start of combat. For the rest of our party, I'm gonna swap them to Battlemaster fighters as soon as possible. But first, we need to get Withers to wake the fuck up and help us change classes. Unfortunately, Withers' tomb is swarming with looters, so I was going to kill a few of them by throwing Poo Scraper at this rock to knock it down. But then I realized that if I do that, I have no way to kill the rest of them. Eventually, I did figure out an interesting way around this issue, but for the moment, I just gently convinced this child soldier to let us inside. There's a few more looters in here that might be a problem. Okay, that was way too easy. Introducing Rule 5. No abusing the AI with stealth or anything else for that matter. Further into the crypt, we killed some skeletons by having Shadowheart waste all of their attacks on her mirror images while the Brown Urge stabbed them in between their highly exposed ribs.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Battlemaster fighters. They get Action Surge for 1 extra action per short rest, as well as Battle Maneuvers, which deal an extra 1d8 damage per attack. This isn't as good as Sneak Attack's 2d6, but Maneuvers can also knock enemies prone, send them flying 15 feet, or make them drop their weapons. But why would I even bother having 4 party members when we only have 1 poop knife? Well, I've come up with a groundbreaking technique that I've dubbed, stab that fucker with a poop knife, then hand it to someone else who also stabs that fucker with a poop knife. We can hand the knife off for free, but equipping it costs 1 action. So other than the Brown Urge, who initiates combat with 2 sneak attacks, we're limited to 1 attack each with Action Surge. That's not great. The solution? Narcotics, obviously. But not some boring potions of healing or elixirs of self-sucking flexibility. I'm talking about speed. Potions of speed give 1 extra action per round for 3 rounds, effectively upping our damage output to this in the first round of combat and this in rounds 2 and 3, which might actually be enough to kill things. The big problem with speed potions, other than our crippling addiction to them, is that they're pretty limited in Act 1, but by gently requesting that Gale respecs into a transmutation wizard with max wisdom and medicine expertise, we can craft 2 potions of speed for the cost of 1. Then further quadruple the value of each by throwing it onto the ground and having all 4 party members lick it up. All we need to do now is find an ethical way to acquire several dozen hyena ears. Hyenas aren't scary. Gnolls are. After using most of our actions, there were still 2 gnolls left, but Will hadn't entered the fight yet. I had him equip Poo Scraper before the fight to save an action, but I really needed him to attack from stealth for the advantage. So, like any sane person would, I spent 5 minutes sneaking him all the way around the map. I hit a trip attack, leaving it with 1 HP, and
they ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
Fortunately, despite everyone being terrified of them, the gnolls are basically blood-drenched teddy bears that only hit for 4 damage. 1, and a few missing ears later, we now have enough potions of speed to give a full-grown dragon a heart attack. We recruited another goofy, lovable serial killer and hit level 4 quite easily. Now, it's finally time for shit to get real. I did a lot of math to come up with an optimal build for my party, only to learn 2 things that somehow both completely invalidate my math and make us infinitely stronger. To begin, we need to understand feats. Now that we're level 4, each of us can get one. Naturally, we want a good balance of these to make our party flexible to deal with different fuck that shit for Tavern Brawlers. Tavern Brawler doubles your strength modifier to both attack and damage rolls with throwing weapons. With a few dozen elixirs of Hill Giant strength from sweet old Auntie Ethel, that's a flat plus 10 to our damage and hit chance when throwing Poo Scraper, or anything else for that matter. Given that Poo Scraper deals a baseline 1d4 damage, this is very, very good. Now, that's all correct, but here is where I fucked up. You don't need to equip a weapon to throw it, you can just throw that shit right out of your backpack. This means that we actually don't need to waste any actions equipping the poop knife at all. I straight up forgot about this when I was initially planning this challenge, because I am, in fact, a fucking idiot. My second grand revelation is marginally less stupid. Eldritch Knight's bound weapons are either bugged or just dramatically stronger than I thought. For context, Eldritch Knights can magically bind a weapon to themselves, which makes it return to their hand for free every time they throw it without wasting any actions. I knew that, but what I didn't know or even consider a possibility until I accidentally discovered it is that once an Eldritch Knight binds a weapon, throws it, and all that good shit, they can hand it off to another party member and it retains all the benefits of being bound to whoever is now holding it. As far as I'm aware, this isn't necessarily a bug or an exploit, just pure, uncut, throbbing. Throbbing?
Cheese.
I swapped the Brown Urge, Astarion, and Shadowheart to Berserkers, and Karlach to an Eldritch Knight. Now, we can deal an average of approximately 407.5 damage in the first 3 rounds of combat with haste, or 250 damage in 3 rounds without haste. That is more than enough to kill most things in Act 1, very quickly, at level 4. Oh, also, at level 5, our damage output nearly doubles with multi-attack.
What the hells?
And I'm never going back!
Shadowheart said to kill this fucker, so I did, which made the entire Goblin camp hostile. I was very much not prepared for this, but it's a great teaching moment for how to avoid getting fucking murdered in honor mode. Speed. Not just the potions, the lifestyle. There's an advanced maneuver to survive any combat encounter called Run the Fuck Away, and the only 2 prerequisites are being faster than the enemy and, ideally, going before them. I had Bard Zell cast Longstrider on everyone every single long rest for plus 10 feet of movement range. That, alongside all the items and other bonuses that boost movement range, makes us way faster than literally all of our enemies. Even though we would have been completely dead here in a real fight, we got out with no consequences despite my tremendous error. Well, that certainly worked. Now it's time to explore a dank, endless cave known as your mother, the Underdark. After climbing down an OSHA-approved ladder and sneaking past this ray beam of death, I yoinked this powerful ancient sword from a stone. But, as we all know, the poo is mightier than the sword. As we delved deeper into the abyss, it decided to fucking eat us. We were attacked by a... bullet?
I need more bullets! I need more bullets!
This big boy has resistance to piercing damage, which is a little bit of a problem considering that we deal exclusively piercing damage. Still, after a bit of a close call, it ran away forever.
Round 2. Fight!
Luckily, it was still hurt, so we just threw Poo Scraper at it a bunch of times, and it died. Next, we befriended some mushroom people who, and I cannot stress this enough, are not figments of my imagination. This time. They asked us to kill some short people, and as we've already increased the average height on Faerun by several inches, I'm fairly confident in our abilities. Well, that's done. Now they want us to bring them the head of some dude named Nier. He sounds like a real piece of shit, so I'm thinking he could make a great addition to our party. In the meantime, we killed a god and slaughtered every single member of a religion. I then... Fuck. At least this armor is good. We killed a big floating eye, stole the now deceased Dwegar's boat, and made friends with another Dwegar by screaming in his face at the top of our lungs. After starting a spider uprising, committing several dozen recreational murders, and giving a pep talk to the suicide bomber,
Easy now. Let's not do anything hilarious.
it's now time for the toughest battle in Act 1. so far. Nier is stuck behind these rocks like an absolute moron, so I'm beginning to think that his head may be more valuable than the rest of him. The problem? There are a lot of Dwagar here. The solution? Tactical, professional murders. Most of the time so far, the sheer power of Poo Scraper has been sufficient to kill everything without much thought. But here, we need a plan. Step 1. Take the high ground. Step 2. Throw Poo Scraper at them. Step 3. Back up far enough that they can't retaliate. Step 4. Repeat steps 2 and 3 until most of those fuckers are dead. Step 5. Track down some invisible cowards. And step 6. Break the challenge for the second time to throw this fucking eyeball into a pit of death because for some reason the damn thing refuses to take damage and forces us to technically stay in combat even though it's doing nothing. After all of this, we hit level 6, but unfortunately, Nier is still stuck, and we have literally no way to free him yet. Step 7. Buy bombs and blow up the rocks. Now this fight will still be very hard. He may not have any assistance, but... oh wait, he's fucking dead in 1 round. A bit more ethical self-defense later, it's now time to kill the real hardest boss in Act 1. Grim. This fucker has 450 HP and piercing resistance, so against us he effectively has 900 HP. Luckily, I have an ingenious plan to kill him. We just need to lure him under this big-ass hammer and... oh. I genuinely thought that throwing Poo Scraper at the lever would work. Fortunately, with Enraged Throw to knock him on his ass every turn, we were able to grind him down quite quickly. He did manage to nearly murder Karlach in 1 round, but she was wearing the armor that I blew myself up for earlier, so she was able to heal, attack, and jump 500 feet into the air all in 1 non-hasted turn. For Nier's head, we received Spiritual Enlightenment, and one of the worst items in the game. Now, our heroes and... Gale 2, I guess, are prepared to face the greatest threat so far. The Githyanki Creche... what? What the fuck do you need? A Githyanki egg? Just so happens that I've got one of those bad boys right here. Now fuck off. The Githyanki Creche. Now after getting acquainted with some Githyanki earlier...
were I not merciful, I would slice the skin clean from your meat.
The Brown Urge expected to be welcomed with open arms. We were.
An istic in my creche.
But then, they attempted to melt our pet frog's brain, so we were left with no choice but genocide. Most of the Githyanki were a fucking joke. Their strongest tactic was using their own blood to wash away the grease trap that I set up here. This man, however, is a problem. The Inquisitor has a fair and balanced legendary action that instantly summons a Ghost Sword of Death for free as soon as he or any of his allies are attacked. I had the brilliant idea to have Bardzel cast Silence around him. Unfortunately, this didn't do shit because it's a fucking legendary action. Of course. Thankfully, the groundbreaking tactic of hitting him very hard a lot of times was still effective, and the swords didn't even do shit because we killed him in the first round. One foolproof way to ensure that you don't make any enemies is to kill everyone you could have possibly pissed off before they even know why they're mad at you. Act 2. We made our way through the Shadow Curse, killed the furry version of Spider-Man, then employed extreme violence to strip the bourgeois of their nauseating opulence, revealing then slaughtering the cold dead husk of their humanity. One spell that I completely ignored until this playthrough is Arcane Lock. See this door? It's a wall now. Sometimes the AI walks the long way around the door, sometimes it knocks it down, and some doors are even impossible to destroy. Either way, that's quite a lot of value for a level 2 spell slot. Next, I politely, but firmly, asked some licensed medical professionals and a raging alcoholic to fucking kill themselves. At level 8, we grabbed this feat on these two to essentially prevent a total party kill and get some other bonuses. I then killed many more people, eventually making my way to Moonrise Towers. After a quick snack break, we made our way to the dungeon, where I encountered a minor issue. It turns out that landing the killing blow on the warden in this particular area with a throwing attack causes your weapon to simply disappear. Luckily, using a magic trick called closing the game through the task manager, I was able to get back to the most recent save, and not permanently ruin this entire playthrough. Both Shadowheart and Astarion want to visit the Temple of the Everlasting Glory and Health of glorious leader Mao Zedong. I have no idea what that is or why it's here, but because I have a thing for people with unfathomable quantities of emotional baggage, I went there immediately. That was a horrible mistake. This fight was exceptionally painful because all of these little shits have piercing resistance. Fortunately, with 18 constitution and good AC, we're virtually invincible. Also, we have access to the best healing spell in the game, Throw. Fun fact, I forgot to hand off the fucking poop knife dozens of times throughout this playthrough. If you leave a weapon in someone's hand and end their turn, you've got to wait for that fucker's next turn to hand it off to anyone else. When your turn order is synced, that's not a problem, but this demonic dickhead has incredibly high initiative and split us up. I then made the exact same mistake several more times when fighting Balthazar. Oh fuck, I left the weapon in her hand. Shit. If you get hit with a second haste potion while you're hastened, doesn't it just immediately make you lethargic? Oh yeah, he's lethargic now. He's lethargic. Oh, that's actually brilliant. That is a big brain strat. I've never thought of that before. I swear to God, it is a IRL DC 30 check for me to fucking remember to swap the weapon over every time. Oh! I hate nothing more than failed jumps like that, bro. You're fine. You're fine. Just put a band-aid on it. You're alright. Please just fucking die. Thank you.
身当家做主人。
Deatheric here probably would have been very hard to kill, but he serves the god of death. So what better way to prove his devotion than to fucking die?
Well, fuck.
Okay, we've got a bit of a problem here. We've just got a free tonight song, again, and of course it has piercing resistance. Remember the potions of hill giant strength? That shit's lame. Let me introduce you to my new best friend. Potions of cloud giant strength. Why is a cloud stronger than a hill? I've got no idea. But when I'm offered 27 strength for a plus 16 modifier to our attack and damage rolls with Tavern Brawler, I'm not asking questions. Act 3. After a minor schizophrenic episode wherein we saw bipedal frogs dressed as monks use their superpowers to kill some innocent brains, we need to focus back on our primary objective, killing God. Step 1. Acquire a life-threatening quantity of the juice. Step 2. Acquire the ballast armor to double our damage output by making all of our enemies vulnerable to piercing damage. If I was smart, I would have killed all of these things after completing Step 2, but as we've already established, I'm a fucking idiot. To get the ballast armor, I need to become an unholy assassin of Baal. Fortunately, due to the overwhelming power of nepotism, all I need to do is murder this annoying second-rate detective, which I probably would have done anyways. I immediately tested the armor by killing Savarok, and goddamn is it strong. Step 3. Hit level 12. Berserker 5, Thief 5, Fighter 2 lets us each do 4 to 7 attacks per turn, dealing up to around 1000 damage per turn. I would have done the precise math, but at this point, it doesn't fucking matter, because, unless I'm mistaken, Raphael has the highest health of any boss in the game at 666. Unfortunately, he has piercing resistance, so I wasn't able to kill him in one round, but he still caught a severe case of deaditis. Step 4. Kill Orin and Gordon.
There's a puddle of blood on the floor as you walk in. Careful, don't slip.
Fortunately, even though it was a 1v1, I was still able to kill Orin in 2 rounds with a piercing vulnerability. I got prepared to stack a bunch of buffs on the Brown Urge before the fight, but I forgot to actually use them, and it just didn't fucking matter. Gordon, on the other hand, was a bit more difficult because I didn't disable the Steel Watchers first. Well, really, the Steel Watchers were difficult. Gordon definitely wasn't.
You can't escape me!
There's like 5 of these things with piercing resistance, immunity to falling over, and over 250 HP. Fortunately, their damage output really isn't too bad. At least, unless I trigger one of them to self-destruct right next to Karlach when she couldn't move. Oh, also, Poo Scraper disappeared again when I killed this guy. After a bit more dark magic, he walked into an explosion for no apparent reason, and I was able to finish off the Steel Watchers.
It's finished. It's done.
Step 5. Kill God again. Wait. Dad? Let's not worry about that for right now. After ingesting what remained of the global speed supply, we ran past these dipshits at approximately 35 miles per hour, grabbed onto the Netherbrain's nether region, murdered a dragon and a half-dozen squid, then finally faced off with God themselves. See that weird circle around the brain? Well, there might be no indication of this whatsoever in the unit's description, but only a mouth-breathing, dim-witted, pea-brained imbecile would try to throw something at it. It's gone. It no longer exists. The brain ate it. Poo Scraper has abandoned us.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
So, without throwing, our damage output is severely limited. But yeah, the ballast armor is just that overpowered. One round, even with Karlach completely stunned, and we just killed the fucking thing. I beat the entirety of Baldur's Gate 3 using only Poo Scraper. I simultaneously got the achievements for both Tactician and Honor Mode runs, as well as some beautiful, although suspiciously pungent, golden dice. Most importantly though, I fixed him. Thanks for watching. I spent an unreasonable amount of time on this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. I recently hit 100,000 subscribers, which is fucking insane. Thanks so much for all the support. I don't really know how to either process that or thank you. It's weird that 100,000 people have not just watched my videos, but liked them. I literally don't know what to do with that information, but thanks. That's all for now. It is 5:31 a.m. I need to get this video released by 12:45 p.m. today, so we're gonna see how that goes. I'm hoping well.